This is a new / old loom I've just finished working on here at the studio. It's a traditional hand loom that I've modified so that it can weave some of our scarves. How it works is we have 6 paddles. Each paddle lifts and lowers one harness. These are the harnesses here. So how the pedal is connected to the harness is there's a little crossbar that you have down there. You can see it moving there. So that is levered, and then there's a pulley here and here also. And so it basically grabs the harness and lifts it up and down as we need. Each of the pedals has a weight on it, and the reason for that is it counterbalances the weight of the thread on the harnesses. When the harnesses are fully loaded with thread, they can be very, very heavy. And so having the pedals weighted allows us to weave a lot easier. It just makes it a lot simpler. Kind of a fun little thing is that the 4th harness on this loom has a really cool creaky noise. You can see that pulley moving there. That's actually one of the original 2 pulleys from the loom that I've repurposed alongside the ones I've added, and then I've built this little head unit to space them out apart from each other so that we can have them going up and down without banging. Normally you wouldn't have that much space between the harnesses. I'll just show you here from above. But because this loom only has 6 harnesses, it's not a huge problem. It's not going to cause much of an effect. On our more advanced loom that we're working on over here, which will be able to weave a lot of the intricate stuff like this style of scarf from our signature collection. On this loom, interestingly, all of the harnesses are contained within this closed system, and that is a couple of really, really big advantages. One is that because it's a fixed path, the harnesses can't bang against one another when they're going up or down. As well as that, because it's a closed system, we're able to contain all the weight within the system. So there's actually no issue with counterbalancing or anything like that, because all that will happen is the minimal amount of effort will be able to grab these pulleys and move them up and down. The harnesses obviously are going to be more like the ones on the other loom as opposed to these little bars. The bars are just there to show you how the up and down motion works. So the first scarf that I'm going to be weaving on this new / old loom here is, I'm just working on it now, and the warp thread you can see down there, it's a nice brown silk that's 260s NM, which basically means that it's the 2 means that it's 2 threads twisted together, and the 60s is the fineness. So the greater the number, the finer the yarn. So this contraption here, which is kind of shaped like a cross from above, this is called a warping mill. And what this does is it allows you to measure out all the threads you're going to weave, and it also puts them in the right order, so that when you place them on this loom and pull them, they go onto that beam there, that's the white thing, around that bar. Then they come right here, through the harnesses, through these little eyes. These eyes are called heddles, and so you can hear them rattling against one another, but basically every single thread goes through just one heddle, and that allows it to be controlled precisely using the pedals. And we can have a pattern. Then from the heddle it goes through this thing here, which is called a reed comb, and it's on a thing called a beater, and the beater basically tidies up each row of weaving so that it's straight and flat. It then goes around this beam here, under that, and onto a load beam, and that's all the finished fabric gathers up on this and goes around. So the scarf that I'll be weaving is going to be brown and blue with a little orange stripe. So the brown thread you've seen there on the warping mill, and these are the blue threads. This one here is a silk yarn, the same weight and gauge as the brown one. And this yarn here is actually in flat light the same color as this, but because it's cashmere, it reflects light differently. Silk is a lot more lustrous, and so there's this sense of light and dark, of kind of shadow and highlight. But cashmere is much more even when it's in light, in any light, a lot like wool. So you can see here, these two yarns, this one here is silk, and this one's wool. Now in flat light, they're almost indistinguishable from one another, but in this light we have here, I've got a little torch on the camera, they come across just a little bit different, and there's more kind of activity in the silk. But it can be nice to use the cashmere to kind of soften the pattern a bit. I'm just showing you these here because these are actually woven from those two silk and wool yarns. Every second thread is either silk or wool, and it's the same on this fabric here and then this one up the top here. So they're just slightly different proportions of silk and wool, but it's essentially every second thread in either the warp or the weft or both. The brown yarn that we're using in this new scarf is actually that brown yarn there, just a slightly finer weight. What you have in front of you now, I'll just turn off the light so you can see it better. What you have there is, it's 230s silk. So it's basically half the fineness or twice the heaviness. The reason I'm using a finer silk this time in the warp, even though it's a heavier fabric we're making up, because the mink that we're using in the weft this time, which I might not have mentioned yet, sorry. This is a natural mink yarn, which is gorgeous. And here's a sample I wove up before, which has a silk warp and a mink weft. So yeah, it's just incredible fabric. It's really soft and blankety, and I can't wait to have it as a scarf. I'm really excited about it. So that's going to be in the weft, but because mink is a little heavier, well, the mink yarn we're using is a very lightly spun yarn, so it's quite thick in contrast with the silks we're using in our warp, and even the linens we use, which would be the same fineness as the silk. So you can see it there again. I'll just turn off the light so you can get an idea of its colour. So that's it there, that's the mink yarn. So yeah, I wanted to use a slightly lighter weight of silk just so that the fabric that makes up the scarf is a little bit lighter, so that although it's going to be quite warm with the cashmere and the mink, it's not going to be too heavy. So you can wear it not just in the kind of coldest winter days, but any time really. And it's something that feels really special, that would be nice to wear all year round, especially in Ireland where it's generally cold enough to get away with that. So yeah, you'll see that when it's done. I'll post another video when I have it on the loom and I'm working on it. And one more thing, sorry. Don't forget to visit Project 51, where you can see these scarves from our signature collection on display. That's the green scarf, which is based on a picture I took of a duck swimming in a pond. And of course our boyfriend scarf, which you might have seen earlier in the year, which is a silk and linen one that I can't stop wearing. They're both on display in Project 51, and they're both priced at €360. So yeah, you can get in and have a look at them there and buy one if you want, or you can always buy online or directly from the studio. So here's a little postcard about the men's fashion festival they're having in Project 51 as part of the Movember campaign. So yeah, get in and have a look at that stuff. There's a opening party on Tuesday the 8th of November as well. The stuff is there from now until the end of November, but the party is on Tuesday the 8th. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye bye.